is up.
Okay. All right. The 208th meeting of the National Council on the Arts is now in session. I'm Maria Rosario Jackson, Chair of the National Endowment for the Arts. I'm a woman with dark curly hair, rectangular glasses. I'm wearing a dark top and dark jacket. And my hair is actually pulled back, but it is curly when it's not. Members of the National Council on the Arts, arts leaders, NEA staff, members of the public, it is a great honor to have served as a council member since 2013 and now as chair appointed by President Biden and sworn in earlier this year. For the record, our National Council on the Arts members joining us today, many here in person, some virtually, are Ismail Ahmed of Michigan, Keenan Azme of New York, Bita Becker of California, Bruce Carter of Florida, Gretchen Davidson of Michigan, Maria de Leon of Texas, Aaron Dworkin of Michigan, Camila Forbes of New York, Deepa Gupta of Illinois, Paul Hodes of Maine, Emil Kang of New York, Huáscar Medina of Kansas, Christopher Morgan of Hawaii, Fiona Whelan Prine of Tennessee, Jake Shimabukuro of Hawaii, and Connie Williams of Pennsylvania. I would like to recognize Michael Lombardo of California, a new member of the council who was confirmed by the Senate in September. We look forward to welcoming Michael officially at our next meeting. The National Endowment for the Arts was established by Congress in 1965 and signed into law by President Lyndon Johnson. It is charged with making the arts available to all Americans. We are a grant maker and also a national resource that helps bolster arts, culture, and design in all communities. The National Council on the Arts advises on agency policies, programs, and grants. I would now like to introduce Ayanna Hudson, Chief Strategy, Programs, and Engagement Officer at the NEA. Good morning, Ayanna.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I'm an African-American, middle-aged woman. I have long dark hair, and I'm wearing glasses and a multicolored dress. Council members, we will proceed with the application review section of the agenda. The tally of the votes will be announced at the end of today's session. The council will be voting by ballot today on award recommendations totaling more than $39.4 million in 3 funding areas: grants for arts projects, creative writing fellowships, and national initiatives. These funding recommendations are found in the corresponding sections of the council book. For your vote to be tallied, you must be present, here in person or virtually, at the time of the motion, discussion, and vote. Council members joining us virtually, you must email your votes to Kim Jefferson in this category immediately at the conclusion of this part of the meeting. Council members' affiliations are recorded in the council book and attached to your ballots, and each member has been provided an opportunity to update this information prior to the meeting. Council members are recorded as not voting on applications with which they are affiliated. This list becomes part of the agency's official record. After brief summaries of the funding areas, council members will have an opportunity to ask questions and/or discuss the recommendations before voting by ballot. May I have a motion to consider the recommended grants and rejections under grants for arts projects, creative writing fellowships, and national initiatives in the council book?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Now I will summarize the funding areas on which you will be voting and then pause for any comments or questions from council members. The Grants for Arts Projects, or GAP category, is the principal grants program of the National Endowment for the Arts. Through project-based funding, the program supports public engagement with and access to various forms of art across the nation, the creation of excellent art, learning in the arts at all stages of life, and the integration of the arts into the fabric of community life. The NEA is committed to diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility, and fostering mutual respect for the diverse beliefs and values of all individuals and groups. GAP encourages projects that use the arts to unite and heal, as well as elevate artists as integral and essential to a healthy and vibrant society, celebrate the nation's creativity or cultural heritage, and enrich our humanity by broadening our understanding of ourselves as individuals and as a society. In February 2022, the agency received 1,939 eligible GAP applications requesting more than $95 million in FY23 support. Recommended for the Council's approval are 1,254 projects totaling more than $28.9 million. Grants are recommended to nearly 65% of all applicants, with amounts ranging from $10,000 to $100,000, and an average grant amount of $23,048. Recommended projects span 15 disciplines and fields. Direct grants are recommended to 49 states, the District of Columbia, and Puerto Rico. Are there any comments or questions from the council? If not, please mark your ballot. The National Endowment for the Arts provides direct support to creative writers and literary translators of distinction through creative writing fellowships. Fellowships in poetry enable recipients to set aside time for writing, research, travel, and general career advancement. Fellowships for translation projects enable recipients to translate work from other languages into English. This year, a total of $900,000 is being recommended to 36 writers in creative writing, poetry, and $300,000 to 22 translators to translate works from 10 languages and 16 countries into English. Are there any comments or questions from the council? If not, please mark your ballot. National initiatives support a wide variety of projects of national and field-wide significance. At this meeting, the council is requested to approve funding for 43 projects representing 7 disciplines, totaling more than $9.3 million. Support is requested for a professional development project from the State Education Agency Directors of Arts Education, or CEDA, which supports a network of arts education directors and state departments of education across the United States. 2 cooperative agreements in support of the Creative Forces NEA Military Healing Arts Network, which provides creative arts therapies and arts engagement activities in clinical and community settings for service members, veterans, and families. The Citizens Institute for Rural Design, which enhances the quality of life and economic viability of small towns and rural communities through workshops focused on planning, design, and creative placemaking. 9 individuals nominated to receive an NEA National Heritage Fellowship, an award that honors American folk and traditional artists or groups of artists for their contribution to our national cultural mosaic. The production and management of public events for the National Endowment for the Arts National Heritage Fellowship Program, which annually honors American folk and traditional artists or groups of artists for their contribution to our national cultural mosaic. A cooperative agreement in support of the Independent Film and Media Arts Field Building Initiative, which focuses on knowledge exchange and peer learning, with an emphasis on regional networks, equity, and career sustainability for individuals working in the film and media arts industry. The Musical Theater Songwriting Challenge for high school students, an initiative that provides an opportunity for high school students to showcase their songwriting talents and compete for the chance to participate in a mentorship with industry professionals and the production of a performance of their original songs. 20 recommended projects at National Endowment for the Arts Research Grants in the Arts, which support a broad range of arts-related studies, many of which strive to understand how factors related to diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility, or DEIA, can improve the efficacy of arts management and cultural policies, and 7 recommended projects in National Endowment for the Arts research labs, including 3 lab renewals, which are focused on arts, health, and social-emotional well-being, and also some projects that will investigate the significance of diversity, equity, and inclusion in arts and cultural settings. Are there any comments or questions from the council? If not, please mark your ballot. Council members joining virtually, you may now email your votes on those 3 categories to Kim Jefferson. Council members in the room, staff will now come around to collect your ballots. Finally, we move to the award update section of the council book. These grants have been awarded under the chairman's delegated authority and are brought to the council's attention at this meeting, but no vote is necessary. Included are 52 Arts Engagement in American Communities program grants made under the chairman's small grant authority, totaling $520,000, 5 interagency agreements, and 2 20% amendments. Thank you.
Thank you, Ayanna. I will take the next few minutes to share some updates and insights since our meeting last in June. As you may have heard me say, there are a few concepts, core concepts and aspirations that are beginning to more intentionally and intensely animate our work at the NEA. One is the idea of an artful life. It's a big tent idea. It is inclusive and representative. It encompasses a wide range of activity, from the everyday aesthetic choices and practices that we pursue, often as non-professional creative people, the making, doing, teaching, learning of art, to the creation, presentation, and consumption of professional art. Another idea that I've been advancing is the importance of the work at the intersection of arts and other fields, such as health, community development, education, transportation, environment, and others. This is about a more holistic approach to understanding how the arts need to be present in our lives, moving away from the separation of art from daily lived experience, embracing a more expansive notion of stakeholders in the arts, expanding opportunities for artists and arts organizations while contributing to the building of communities where all people can thrive and reach their full potential. A focus on work at the intersection of arts and other fields creates an opportunity to reset the parameters of the cultural sector to include new stakeholders and new resources. These ideas are impacting how the NEA is showing up and how we are adjusting internally. We are a critical grant-making organization providing essential federal funds for communities across the country, and this continues to be true. And we're also leaning into important work for which we're less known. That work positions us as a national resource that helps build healthy arts ecosystems that advance artful lives for all people and support the sector, inclusive of the work at the intersection of arts and other fields. As a national resource, we must be able to deploy all of the assets and currencies that we have available to us in service of our mission. This includes not only money for grants, but also utilizing our power to convene, connect, collaborate, our ability to provide information and research, our ability to show up as a thought leader and as an amplifier for the ideas of work of others, and more. I think that making good on our intentions to better serve underserved communities and to show up as a national resource requires revisiting how we conceive of accessibility and questioning our own orthodoxies as we continue to learn about what is needed in the communities that we seek to benefit. I'm delighted to announce 2 new positions at the NEA to help animate this approach. Jennifer Hughes is now Senior Advisor to the Chair for Partnerships, Expansion, and Innovation. She will take the lead on nurturing existing and developing new relationships with federal agencies, philanthropy, and other entities that are important partners with aligned intentions. Ayanna Hudson is now the Chief Strategy, Programs, and Engagement Officer. She will look to ensure internal alignment of the different facets of our work and bolster accountability for impact. Related additional changes are to come, including changes that help us make grant-making more efficient and impactful and help us serve the growing need and demand we're experiencing as a result of our American Rescue Plan and related efforts. These had broad reach and engagement. As you know, we're building on strong work that the NEA has done to date. We're not starting from scratch. Examples of precedents that have to do with systemic investments and cross-agency collaboration include the work of the Arts Education Team with its collective impacts focus, the work of the Our Town program through its field-building efforts in collaboration with philanthropy and other organizations, ecosystem-focused work in media arts, systemic investments in supporting folk and traditional arts, the NEA Interagency Task Force on Human Development, and several initiatives at the intersection of arts and health well-being, among others. These new positions and internal adjustments also help us advance our intentions of better serving underserved communities, consistent with President Biden's all-of-government executive order on racial equity and support for underserved communities. The executive order requires all federal agencies, including the NEA, to bolster efforts to advance diversity, equity, and inclusion, and report on progress on a regular basis. We're committed to expanding reach and to removing barriers to access. This fall, President Biden stood up a new initiative called United We Stand, taking action to prevent and address hate-motivated violence and foster unity. This is an all-of-government initiative that involves tending to the aftermath of such horrific events, and it also focuses on prevention. The NEA and the National Endowment for the Humanities were invited to participate in this initiative alongside other agencies such as Department of Justice, Education, Health and Human Services, Homeland Security, Treasury, and others. This effort recognized the essential role the arts and culture play in our civic infrastructure, the relationships and mechanisms that we rely on to care for each other. Most recently, the President issued another executive order recognizing the contributions of arts and humanities, our cultural vitality, not only in economic terms, but broadly on the health and well-being of the nation and on the future of democracy itself. This executive order focused on advancing arts and humanities in museums and libraries as strategic elements in a wide range of federal aims and directs other federal agencies to enter into partnerships with the NEA, the National Endowment for the Humanities, and the Institute of Museum and Library Services. The executive order also reconstitutes the President's Committee on Arts and Humanities. Recently, the NEA launched a very exciting program with the General Services Administration for a collaboration on their Arts and Architecture program, and you'll hear more about that from Jen Hughes today. We also recently launched a pilot effort with the regional arts organizations. This is an effort that advances our work in building arts ecosystems that better serve underserved populations, specifically bolstering the work of organizations that can help us increase access to arts opportunities to underserved populations in ways that are durable. There are efforts underway to expand the Mayor's Institute on City Design and the Citizens Institute on Rural Design with an eye towards arts-infused civic infrastructure. This expansion focuses on better understanding the roles of artists and arts organizations in addressing important issues in our cities, towns, and rural communities. We're also paying attention to next-generation leadership development efforts, especially through HBCUs, historically black colleges and universities, Hispanic-serving institutions, and with tribal colleges and governments. There's been a lot of travel since our last meeting in June. I was with staff from the NEA in Alabama, with also the State Arts Agency representative and the Regional Arts Organization representative. We went to New York to speak to the grant makers in the arts. We're in Orlando, Florida to report on our work in health. We've had meetings with the arts community in Los Angeles and participation at a national gathering of museums and libraries from Native communities that took place in Temecula, California. Last week, I was in Portland, Oregon. We were hosted by Congresswoman Bonamici, head of the STEAM Caucus and a member of the House Education and Labor Committee. We met with a range of arts leaders and elected officials as we toured her congressional district, focusing on what we're seeing as challenges and opportunities, specifically as pandemic-related issues impact arts participation patterns. Next week, I'll be in Arkansas, touring urban and rural communities with arts leaders. There's more, but I'm now proud to preview for you a teaser. It's a video called Roots of American Culture. It's a documentary celebrating the 2022 NEA National Heritage Fellows. And this will premiere on Thursday, November 17th. So let's take a look at the video.
Why do I walk this path? It's my identity.
There's nothing like it in the world.
It's important for people to know who they are.
Where things came from.
Here we go, 1, 2.
It's about building community.
Walking them through a journey. And then we pass it to younger generations.
To continue to tell my story.
It's a way of life for me.
When you love what you do, you just do it till you can't.
I encourage you to see the documentary. It is a beautiful compilation of our diverse cultures. And with that, I'm pleased to introduce Ra Joy, our Chief of Staff, who will report on our success and programs with the American Rescue Plan. Ra, good morning.
Good morning. And hello, everyone. My name is Ra Joy. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm proud to serve as Chief of Staff at the National Endowment for the Arts. I'm a middle-aged man with curly black hair. I'm wearing a blue suit, a light purple shirt, and a purple tie. And I am absolutely ecstatic and grateful to be here with you today. On behalf of all of us at the Arts Endowment, I would like to extend a very happy National Arts and Humanities Month to those of you in the room and joining online. I cannot think of a better way to celebrate Arts and Humanities Month than to be here in our nation's capital, surrounded by individuals who promote, support, and exercise the power of the arts. We appreciate President Biden's recent executive actions that Chair Jackson just walked you through. And we are energized by efforts underway to elevate and integrate the arts, humanities, museums, and library services as a public policy asset across the federal government. We also appreciate the actions taken by this council to help reverse the damage of COVID-19 and get creative workers back to work. All right, great. I'm going to say a few words about the American Rescue Plan. The American Rescue Plan Act was signed into law in March of 2021. This $1.9 trillion rescue package was designed to facilitate our nation's recovery from the devastating economic and health effects of COVID-19. ARP represented a catalytic investment in the arts and a recognition of the value of culture in the arts to our nation's economy and recovery efforts. We're grateful to the President and to this Congress that the American Rescue Plan included $135 million in funding for the National Endowment for the Arts. This slide here provides kind of a snapshot and overview of the NEA's Rescue Plan program. There are three things that I want you to think about. One is the two overarching goals of the program. The three phases or installments of the NEA's Rescue Plan program, and the importance of the NEA's national network of state and local partners. The NEA's Rescue Plan program was designed to assist the cultural sector in its recovery from COVID-19. ARP funds support a broad range of general operations, including facilities, health and safety supplies, and marketing and promotional efforts to encourage arts participation. Our program had two overarching goals. The first goal was to help preserve jobs and support arts and cultural organizations in communities of all sizes. The second goal was to expand access to funds for communities that have been historically underserved, underrepresented, and often overlooked by government. ARP funds were distributed in 3 distinct phases or installments. Phase 1 occurred in April of 2021, when the NEA awarded 40% of its rescue plan funds to 62 states, jurisdictional, and regional arts agencies for regranting through their respective funding programs. In November of 2021, the NEA announced $20.2 million to 66 local arts agencies and arts commissions for subgranting. And in January of this year, the NEA announced $57.8 million in grants directly to 568 nonprofit arts and cultural organizations all across the country. The other thing to note is the importance of partnerships to the NEA's work overall and to the implementation of the ARP program. Chair Jackson talked about the importance of building healthy arts and cultural ecosystems. The NEA's state and local partners are critical components of our nation's cultural ecosystem, and they're doing their part to make sure that the benefits of ARP are felt in real and meaningful ways. I know several of our state and local partners are here with us today and Zooming in. The Arts Endowment is committed to working collaboratively with arts agencies to help revive the cultural sector and to ensure that all Americans can truly indeed live artful lives. All across the country, state arts agencies and local arts agencies are serving as essential facilitators and intermediaries for our ARP funds. Okay, great. So I also want to talk about ARP, equity, access, and public engagement. Advancing equity and access were at the forefront of the NEA's Rescue Plan program. We focused on fairness by removing barriers and expanding the reach and impact of the Arts Endowment. First, we looked at who was eligible. The NEA encouraged ARP grant applications from organizations applying to the NEA for the first time. This was a departure from past practice of our last 2 stimulus programs that required applicants to be previous grantees of the agency. So we really wanted to open up the doors of opportunity. The second thing we did is to make sure that ARP information was user-friendly and accessible. For the first time in the NEA's history, grant application guidelines were translated into multiple languages. We also looked at a robust public engagement and technical assistance program that included webinars, twice-weekly Zoom sessions with Q&A sessions for applicants that included captioning and options in Spanish and American Sign Language. These efforts delivered meaningful results. We received over 7,500 applications. 27% of those that were selected for funding were first-time applicants to the NEA. 79% of recommended applicants are small to mid-size organizations. 28% of grantee organizations had annual budgets of $250,000 or less. Next slide, please. I want to say a word about ARP at work. Chair Jackson mentioned her recent travel. Over the last several months, Chair Jackson and NEA staff have been on the road, meeting with and listening to leaders on the front lines who are using these ARP funds to rehire and reopen. Since our last council meeting, the chair has been to big cities and small towns in literally every region of the country. This slide represents just a small sampling of some of these visits. Just last week, Chair Jackson was in Hillsboro, Oregon, where she met with an organization that had received an ARP grant as part of a regranting from a local arts agency. They credited this grant for remaining open. The chair was in Boston, Massachusetts, visiting one of the nation's first nonprofits to integrate affordable housing with cultural responsive programming. I had the great pleasure of traveling to Reno, Nevada with Chair Jackson when she visited a number of sites, including the Holland Project. And as the chair mentioned, she was in Alabama. And while in Alabama, she visited the Sloss Furnaces Foundation in Birmingham. The foundation employs artists who work at the downtown Foundry, demonstrating iron pouring to hundreds of people each month. Next slide, please. Led by our chair, the NEA is drawing upon the insights and lessons learned from ARP. Building upon what has worked and what we're hearing, we are reevaluating and adapting our agency policies and processes. The NEA will explore the appropriate size and scale of technical assistance opportunities we can offer for our regular grant making through new and available mechanisms and partnerships. We will increase the prominence of currently available technical assistance options on our website and explore opportunities to be even more upfront and transparent about success rates and application burdens facing our potential grantee partners. We're also focusing on elevating the other currencies that the NEA can bring to bear, not just as a grant maker, but as Chair Jackson mentioned, a national resource, a collaborator, a connector, and a convener. Another important step that we're taking, speaking of relief, is to think about how we do our work differently. And I want to express a heartfelt thanks to the entire NEA staff team who have worked so hard, not just over the last few years, but in particular over this last fiscal year. ARP was an enormous lift for our entire staff, and I just want to say thank you for your professionalism and your expertise. We are looking to make the work more manageable and sustainable. You'll be hearing more about ARP and lessons learned in the weeks and months ahead, but now at this time, it gives me great joy to turn the program over to Ann Meyer-Baker. I think everyone here is in for a treat. We're going to inject some artistry and creativity into our program. Thank you all.
Good morning, everyone. So one of the great things about being the director of music and opera at the National Endowment for the Arts is the great, vast, diverse field that we get to work in. But today I want to talk just about our work in jazz. So I oversee our work in jazz with our jazz specialist, Katja von Schutenbach. And this year, the NEA is celebrating the 40th anniversary of the NEA Jazz Masters Fellowship, which is our nation's highest honor in jazz. And since 1982, we have awarded 169 jazz fellowships. In addition to these lifelong achievement awards, though, the NEA also invests in programs that nurture jazz students of all ages, including young musicians who might one day become our NEA Jazz Masters. And much like the program we're going to feature today from the Herbie Hancock Institute of Jazz. They've been receiving NEA grants for some time now, and most recently, funding through the American Rescue Plan and the CARES Act. Headquartered here in Washington, D.C., the Herbie Hancock Institute is led by its highly skilled, jazz-passionate president, Tom Carter, who works closely with J.B. Dias, the Vice President of Education and Curriculum Development, and Leonard Brown, who's Director of Special Projects. And we're glad to have all of them here with us today. So the Herbie Hancock Institute project that we support most often, and that our panelists really admire, is their peer-to-peer jazz education touring program. Each year, the Institute conducts a series of week-long tours which feature a diverse combo of top students from our nation's public performing arts schools all around the country. The students receive free, ongoing instruction from outstanding teaching artists, and each combo also is partnered with renowned musicians and instrumentalists and vocalists. Together, they present school-wide performances, lead master classes, and play alongside their peers. So it's now my pleasure to introduce J.D. Diaz, who's going to tell you about the two students who are here to perform for us today. JB?
Well, thank you very much. And thank you, Dr. Jackson, and the National Endowment for the Arts, and the National Council on the Arts. So, we do many programs at the Herbie Hancock Institute of Jazz, but my absolute favorite is this one I'm going to talk about right now, and this is our National Peer-to-Peer Jazz Education Program. And what we do is we sponsor the jazz programs in numerous performing arts high schools around the country. And I visit all these schools, and I mentor the teachers on how to better teach jazz, and I work directly with the students, and I covertly audition who's going to be in the 2 or 3 all-star tours that we could not do without the National Endowment for the Arts. So what we do is we take a quintet or a sextet or a septet around the country, and we play in schools, mostly underserved schools, both urban and rural and everywhere in between. And we teach these kids. We have kids teaching kids, same age, they're high school kids teaching high school kids about jazz, that there's more to music than just rock and roll and hip hop and pop music, and those are great genres, of course, but we want them to know about jazz. But perhaps most important, they talk about the values that jazz represents, like teamwork and unity with ethnic diversity, and the correlation of hard work and goal accomplishment. And there's probably no better example of democracy than a jazz ensemble, because it's individual freedom, but with responsibility to the group. And as Herbie Hancock always talks about, he says, you learn from mistakes. And perhaps the most important is jazz teaches kids the vital importance of really listening to one another. So we do these tours, we play in these high schools. For a week-long tour, we get to at least 5,000 kids and teachers and adults. And then we always finish the tour by playing in the city's top jazz club. And we do this with a major artist. The major artist is with us all week long, a jazz master, someone very famous. So it's 360-degree learning, because the students, the touring students, are learning from the jazz master, and the students in turn are teaching their brethren, the kids their same age, about jazz and the values that that jazz represents. And then the band directors, because right after we finish our informants for the whole student body, we do a workshop for the host school's jazz band, where the kids sit side by side their like instrument counterparts, teaching each other peer to peer, in the same way that Herbie Hancock and Wayne Shorter learned from Miles Davis, by learning peer to peer. And at the same time, the band director from the school is watching a jazz master direct his or her band, and so they're vicariously getting a clinic on good jazz band directing technique. So without any further ado, I want to introduce these two young musicians who were on our tour last year. And if we have time, you can ask them any questions at the end, and we'll have them say a few words as well. So on piano, it's Jose Andre Montano. He's a junior in high school. He's at the Duke Ellington School for the Arts in Washington, D.C. And on saxophone, it's Eben Dorsey. She was on our tour last year as well, and she's now a freshman at the Peabody Conservatory, and on a full scholarship, by the way. So, and that's another thing that we do with this program, is virtually all our students get full rides to the top schools, and we take great pride in that. But without any further ado, Eben wrote a tune specifically for today's session. This is the debut performance, And for the National Council on the Arts, the NCA, this is entitled the NCA Blues. Jose Andre Montano, Eben Dorsey, saxophone and composer. You know, we've now been to 41 states and the District of Columbia. We've got 9 more to go. And we're going to be hitting Arkansas and Virginia this year. So at the end of this school year, we'll be up to 43. So I would just like to turn the mic over to Eben and to Jose, and they can tell you a little bit about their experience with the peer-to-peer program, which we call the NEA Peer-to-Peer Tour.
Hi. My name is Eben Dorsey, 18 years old. I did the tour to Milwaukee. That was this past year in May, right? And I think that was probably one of the greatest experiences I've ever had. I mean, that was like to be on a tour as a musician who wants to tour. I was pretty much prepared for real life. And I mean, I met so many amazing people, and like the musicians that I played with, I mean, we all were kind of scattered around the country. So I couldn't imagine another situation in which we'd be able to play with each other. And I mean, they were just a great group of people, and I had a lot of fun, especially with Sean Jones. And Sean Jones is one of the greatest trumpet players like alive right now, I think. He's one of the greatest ever. And I've known Sean for a long time, but to be able to be in a professional environment with him for a week, and to be with Miss Lisa Henry as well, who's a vocalist, and I wasn't the only woman on the stage, was very fun, you know. And I never really thought about teaching. I've always just thought about performing and performing with my brother, because my brother plays as well. And I don't know, to be put in a situation to teach people and also teach young women who look just like me, I mean, it opened my eyes to something that I didn't even think about, and I'm actually considering teaching when I reach that age, you know. And so I want to thank you guys. I can't thank you enough, honestly, because I mean, now I'm actually going on tour with vocalist Jose James, and I had a mini tour this past weekend, and I was like prepared for the call times at like 6 in the morning because of JB Dice. And I was like, I've done this before because of the peer-to-peer tour, and so I feel like I'm prepared for anything, and I want to thank you guys for that.
Well, hello everyone. Hello. Let's try again. Hello everyone. There you go. I like the energy of the audience. It's so great to be here playing for you. I am so excited, and it is a great pleasure for me to be at this wonderful event with the NCA, the National Council for the Arts. And I want to thank everyone for the invitation, and especially Dr. J.B. Dias for making this possible, and the Herbie Hancock Institute. I got to do the Delaware tour, and I played with Bobby Watson, who's a great alto sax player. And yeah, it's been a great experience. I got to meet incredible musicians and absolutely wonderful friends that are young musicians as well, just like me. And the fact that we were able to share our experiences and we're able to just share our musicality, make some music together, have a good relationship as brothers together. So it was absolutely great to be able to hang with them. And we did a lot of things. We performed a lot, and we had a very good performance at Keystone Corner as well in Baltimore. And I just got to, like I said, I got to meet a lot of people. And I always like to be able to be surrounded by new people and new cultures, you know, because that's what music it's all about. And music, it's a passion and a feeling for me. And I wanna also remark my great friend, and we just played the NCA Blues together. And as you can tell, she's a great saxophone player, Eben Dorsey. Yeah, man.
Thanks so much, Jose. You know, I think one of the most important messages that gets across with these kids teaching kids is that they're showing them that we're doing something with our lives. You need to do something with yours. It doesn't have to be music like it is for us, they'll say. It could be computers or science or medicine or law or business. But they say, find a passion for something, believe in yourself, and go for it. Now, if I go in and say that to an audience of high school kids, they don't hear me. But with these kids who just played a burnin' alto saxophone solo or burnin' piano solo, they say it, they listen. And they make great friends from around the country, not just with the students with whom they're touring, And they finally get to play with people of their caliber because they're the best in their school. And now they're playing with kids who are that great, and they're learning very early on the importance of giving back. So if we have any time, do we have any time for any questions for either of the students?
I'll just start by saying this is so inspiring. Thank you for your beautiful gift of music, and thank you to the Herbie Hancock Institute. Eben and Jose, you're bright lights. And I just wish you all the best and want to see you go far. Thank you.
And thank you. Of course, we could not do this without the National Endowment for the Arts. No way, no how. So thank you again, Dr. Jackson and the council, and thank you for having us today.
There's questions.
Can I ask?
Safe travels, everybody.
There's questions.
Oh, question, yes.
Can I ask a quick question?
Of course.
I'm Deepa. I didn't get to meet you backstage. First of all, I just busted out my camera and took some video because my daughter plays sax and my son plays piano, and you're exactly right. They're not going to listen to me, but they're going to listen to that. And hopefully they're watching, but I bet they're not. My question is, when you were getting started, what was the biggest thing you felt like, if I could just get over this hump, then it's golden for me?
For me, I would definitely say the stage fright. That took a long time to get over. I mean, even now still, I get a little nervous every time before I play, but I mean, I would get nervous to the point where I didn't want to go to jam sessions. I didn't want to go to these places because I would feel so sick, like nervous, but I wanted to play. And thankfully I had my mom there, my mom and my dad. My dad's like in the corner over there, but they were there. Yeah, round of applause. They pushed me into these opportunities that I didn't even realize was helping me grow. And then sooner or later, I got to the point where I didn't need that push anymore, that I was ready to go on my own. So yeah, that stage fright was crazy, but I'm glad that I'm better now for that.
Well, for me, when I got started, I've been playing piano ever since I was 5. And I've been going to a lot of workshops since I was little, so because I wanted to meet new musicians, and I started listening to jazz when I was 5, you know, and yeah, I've been playing for a while, and I just went to a lot of workshops and meet new musicians in every time, and I love going to jam sessions. And you know, music is about loving who you are, and it's, like I said earlier, it's my passion, one of my biggest passions, and it makes me really feel excited when I'm playing. It's like something inside me changes when I hit those keys. And I want to let you know that you always have to see life with a great smile every day and a great perseverance. You have to be perseverant on who you are and the goals you want to achieve in life. So, yeah.
Anyone else, or anyone else from the audience today? Yes.
You know who I am. Brenda Asylum from the Washington Informer. It's good to see you.
Nice to see you again, yes.
So when are we going to hear blues for Eddie and jazz? In some form or fashion, a future video or something like that. It was wonderful.
Well, we would love to record that tune at some point, and maybe if we got some funding, we could do that. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you. Safe travels.
So again, thank you to Jose and Eben and the Herbie Hancock Jazz Institute. And I just want to recognize Jose and Eben's family here. We rely on people to believe in us, and I just want to recognize you for that. Thank you. And now I'd like to call up Jen Hughes, who's going to tell us about a terrific new collaboration that the NEA has entered into with the General Services Administration. Good morning, Jen.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Chair Jackson, members of the National Council of the Art, colleagues, as well as the public. That is an incredibly difficult act to follow. So I'd like to ask who made that schedule, because I'm a little intimidated up here now. But I am so pleased to be with you here today to share a key collaboration that has been underway between the NEA and the General Services Administration, known as the GSA. A fellow federal agency of ours. So this collaboration exemplifies the ways in which the NEA is poised to advance equitable opportunities for artists through existing federal agency programs, and how the NEA can serve as a national resource on arts and culture to our federal family. It is also an example of how our two agencies are collaborating to implement the White House executive order on advancing racial equity and support for underserved communities through the federal government. So to introduce the NEA GSA Art and Architecture collaboration, I'm going to turn it over to Jennifer Gibson, a fellow federal colleague. She is the director of the Center for Fine Arts at the U.S. General Services Administration, Public Building Service. Come on up, Jennifer.
I'm thankful to have had the buffer of Jen between the performances, which was fantastic. And it's wonderful to see NEAs in action and how it's supporting things. Good morning, Chair Jackson, to the Federal Council on the Arts, to my NEA federal colleagues, the public, and others who may be attending today. I'm here on behalf of Robin Carnahan, who's the administrator of the General Services Administration, and I'm very happy to join you today. Now, some of you, and many of you may be saying, what is GSA? And basically, we are the real estate arm of the federal government. We own or lease an inventory of more than 8,800 assets across the country. That we maintain more than 370 million square feet of federal office and workspace. And we have one that provides space for 1.1 million federal employees. In addition, as part of our inventory of buildings, we have 500 historic buildings that we're preserving. So within all of this real estate activity, in the Public Building Service, we have a fantastic program called Art and Architecture, which is the occasion for my being here today. We are, at the moment, just in October, began celebrating our 50th year. And Art and Architecture continues a federal legacy of commissioning artworks for federal buildings. But in 1972, the modern program was launched. And the first work that we installed under that program is, you see a graphic of it here, Alexander Calder's Flamingo in the Chicago Federal Center. The program, Art and Architecture, accounts for we've spent more than $50 million since 1972, and have about 500 artworks that we've commissioned and that are installed in federal facilities. The funding for all of this activity comes from construction budgets that are authorized by Congress. So for each congressional authorized new federal construction or major modernization, we receive 0.5% of the estimated construction cost to commission artwork. The each commission is tied to a specific building. So we don't pool funds to commission works and put them in a variety of places. They are for specific sites. In contrast to NEA, we do not give grants. This Art and Architecture is basically a federal procurement action where we are hiring an artist on the basis of their past work and then providing them all the information about the site, the building, the tenant, the region where the work is, the building is being constructed, and that artist then creates a work specifically for that site. And these tend to be large scale, and they're permanently installed works. In a normal year, we do about 5 new commissions because it depends on how much new construction or modernization is being authorized. And these are for headquarters buildings, for federal buildings and labs, for United States courthouses, as well as for land ports of entry, which in the normal world everybody calls border stations, but we call them LPOEs. In 2022, with the Bipartisan Infrastructure Act, Congress authorized the modernization or new construction of 26 land ports of entry on the northern and southern borders, which is an enormous construction activity. And these ports range from small historic ports in towns in Maine and Vermont to large scale in the middle of a city in El Paso. And so their character is very different. And similarly, their budgets are very different. So with this 0.5% of estimated construction, we may have an $80,000 budget on the northern border for some of them. In El Paso, we will be above $2.5 million. So the types and range of art that we will be commissioning will vary greatly. But this new bill, and in combination with our normal program, provides us an opportunity to commission more works and to involve more artists who might not have previously been considered for a commission. Hence, this wonderful new collaboration we have with NEA. We signed an agreement earlier this year. And certainly, the collaboration supports both GSA's mission to commission great artworks for federal facilities and the White House executive order that Jen mentioned to advance racial equity and support for underserved communities through the federal government. Our goal is to reach more communities of artists and extend knowledge about art and architecture and the opportunities that there are for artists. Once the artists that we find join the National Artist Registry, which is open to any artist who's a United States citizen or lawful permanent resident. And once in that registry, an artist can be considered for any project anywhere in the country. So if they're not building in your town, it doesn't mean you can't participate in this program. In collaborating with NEA, it's been great. In September, NEA hosted a series of 4 webinars that reached out to new artist communities, and we focused them on communities along the borders, where we had the opportunity to talk about the art and architecture program. It also, for GSA, as I said, we build buildings, we commission work. We are not tied into the whole network of arts organizations, which is for NEA, and for us, it's a wonderful partnership because of the strength of those relationships with state, local, and regional arts organizations, who then can in turn spread the word to artists. For GSA, it's wonderful to have a federal partner, and whose mission is not exactly ours, but whose goals we share. And we hope to do much more together in the coming years. We're waiting to hear also from artists, like, what do you need? Art and architecture may not be the only answer, but we may be able to collaborate with other areas to provide more service to a broader group of artists from across the country. Our goals and our shared goals are to elevate arts, culture, and design throughout the federal government with a goal of positively impacting civic life in the United States and supporting the artistic talent of the nation. In closing, I will leave you with a video excerpt of a conversation recorded between GSA Administrator Robert Carnahan and NEA Chair Maria Rosario Jackson. It's not easy to get these two ladies in the same room at the same time, and it was wonderful to hear their enthusiasm. And they'll be discussing the collaboration between our two agencies, emphasizing the importance of the federal commissioning of public art and the significant role of public art in the country. Thank you.
My background is actually in urban planning, and I've been working at the intersection of arts and urban planning for decades. I feel like public art is such a critically important way of how we connect with each other, how we truly make public assets public, how they're part of not just our physical infrastructure, but our civic infrastructure as well, how they can tell our stories, how they can provoke conversations that are generative and interesting and take us to the next level of understanding each other. So I think public art is incredibly important, and the opportunity to have this program with you and be able to have this kind of presence in public buildings is huge.
Yeah, so we're just eager to figure out how to broaden the net, right? And that's why the collaboration with NEA is so important for us, is to really reach out to artists who might not know about this program. I have friends back home in Missouri who are artists, and when I mention this to them, they know nothing about it. So one of the things we're really encouraging people to do is sign up for the artist registry. It's the way that we know who the artists are, and we can then reach out to them when there are projects in their communities. I was out recently in Toledo, and there's a new courthouse construction that's going on, and it was really fun to have one of the judges who's in charge of overseeing the project there show me the mock-ups that the artists had provided to them, and they're getting community feedback on that. And so it's good to be able to have folks in the community come together and think about what would be meaningful for them. I was down in Texas not long ago at another courthouse where local artists, again, were given an opportunity to have these giant, big public installations. Yeah. And I know it means a lot for their careers, so we're eager to do more of that.
It's meaningful in so many ways, in addition to being significant to artists' careers. You know, the beauty of public art is that so often it's not just the thing at the end, you know, the thing that gets installed, or the thing that for years people come to revisit, which of course is important, but what's also important, I think as you're pointing out, is the process. And how often artists that are working in the public art realm really are engaged with community, and they're influenced, informed. They really are delivering something through a co-creative process at times that makes what turns out to be the art piece so much more significant and valuable and meaningful.
Yeah, I asked about the piece in Philadelphia because it just fits so nicely. The building is right next to where the Constitution was written, and it has lots of meaning. The Liberty Bell is right there, and to be able to understand how the community decided on that piece of art, that they had folks from local universities and arts institutions and groups be on the selection committee. And so you're right, it's just a great collaboration with the community. I'm interested, to just get your thoughts on how do we really reach these artists? This is not, thinking about the business of art is not always what artists are doing. How do we make it easy for them to get involved in this?
I'm so grateful that the National Endowment for the Arts has so many relationships with just thousands of arts organizations all over the country. So the ability to have that kind of reach and contact with a broad range of artists from many diverse traditions, to be able to connect with them through the organizations that they may have affiliation with. Of course, the registry that you described, once they get on that registry, opportunities begin to be more available. Using our networks, which include state arts organizations, regional arts organizations, and all kinds of nonprofits, as well as local arts agencies, to get the word out about these opportunities is something we're really excited about. So thank you to Jen Hughes, our new senior advisor to the Chair for Partnerships, Expansion, and Innovation, on telling us about a really important initiative, an example of the kind of partnerships that we can and will continue to hold. And thank you to Jennifer Gibson from the General Services Administration for sharing such good information about the program. And any discussion among council members? Questions for Jen or Jennifer? All right, thank you. Okay. So, as the final piece of business, I'm pleased to announce that the National Council on the Arts has reviewed the applications presented to them, and that a tally of the council members' ballots revealed that all recommendations for funding and rejection have passed. And with that, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. And with that, thank you to the council members, our speakers, our guests here in Washington and online. Thank you to the committed and excellent staff of the National Endowment for the Arts. We hope that you will follow the work of the NEA on social media and join us on Thursday, November 17th, when we celebrate the NEA Heritage Fellowships as the program marks 40 years. So with that, the 208th meeting of the National Council on the Arts is now adjourned.